we have a holiday. It's one
Mm.
that I feel doesn't get much. It doesn't get the attention that I think it deserves. Like I remember Thanksgiving when we were growing up was a bigger deal than it is now,
Huge deal. Absolutely.
and I think part of it is the stuff we're going to talk about today. But it's kind of like we've gone from there always was Thanksgiving. It was a bigger deal, and then now we just have like Halloween and Christmas, and then people still do Thanksgiving, but it just isn't like you just come together and you just have some food, and that's kind of like what people think of it. But even in the stores, like you don't see the Thanksgiving decorations anymore.
No.
It's like the day after Halloween, we put out the Christmas decorations.
Yeah. At best, for a lot of people, it's just the warm up for Christmas. It's an
Yeah.
opportunity to check out your turkey frying ability or test out a recipe in preparation for Christmas.
hmm
Yeah, yeah. It was. I agree. When I was younger, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Yeah.
it was a lot bigger than it is now, and it just seems like thinking about what Halloween is and then what thing or Christmas is compared to Thanksgiving, and it's just like we've learned to appreciate these two holidays where we just get stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then there's some aspect to giving in those things, but
Yeah.
there that period in the middle where we give thanks for the things
Yeah.
that we've gotten, the things that we
Right.
received. And
Right.
then more importantly, is that we give thanks to our creator,
Yep.
God, for all of those
Yep.
things.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
so kind of going like our 4th of July. So I didn't do all the holidays this year because I thought, well, like, what am I going to do next year?
Okay.
So kind of dealing with that. So, why do we even have this holiday? Why do we celebrate it? So I think a lot of people, maybe not the younger folks, may not know this stuff, but a lot of people thinking back will remember the Pilgrims and the Mayflower, and probably have some vague recollection of that. So we do get the holiday from the Pilgrims, who did come
Hmm.
over on the Mayflower.
Right.
They set sail from England in August of 16. Oh, I have it written down here, 1620. So they left England 1620 in August, and they had a pretty rough journey over the ocean. So the Mayflower, a lot of people think about it as a vessel that was designed to carry people. It actually wasn't. It was a
Mm-mm.
smaller vessel. It was only about
Hmm.
100 feet long.
Yep.
It was really, really small. And it was a cargo
Yep.
ship, and it was primarily intended to carry goods up and down the coast of England or, around Europe there as well.
Right.
And it really wasn't designed to travel over the open ocean. So they had a pretty rough go getting across the ocean in the middle of winter. They faced a lot of storms. And I read something, there was a historian who said they actually probably would have experienced periods where they were blown backwards
Ah,
instead of going forward. Yeah.
can you
Uh,
imagine how they felt about that? Maybe
mm,
we're not supposed to go.
yeah. So it was a pretty miserable journey for them. Everybody was cramped under the deck below the gun holds and stuff. So it was windowless, cramped quarters. The ceiling was only about 5 feet high, and there were 102 passengers and 35, 37-ish or so crew members. So all those people stuck on this ship that's about 100 feet long, maybe about 40 feet wide, and crossing this treacherous winter storms. They said the ship would have just been rolling around, just back and forth. So it was a terrible thing. All that to say, though, they did have pregnant women on board as well. But all that to say, only one person died making the journey, and they also had a birth. They welcomed a new baby. as they were coming
Wow.
across. His name was
Wow.
Oceanus.
Oh, wow. I completely forgot that.
Yeah, pretty cool
That's
stuff.
amazing. That's amazing, man.
And then a little fact, I had no idea. There were actually two ships. So we are aware of the Mayflower, but there was a second ship called the Speedwell. And the Speedwell started off, so both ships were intended to travel from England, come over to the New World. People were looking to look for a place where they could practice their religion in their own ways. There were also other people who were coming along that were looking to get some, gain land in the New World and start a new life and all that stuff. So the Speedwell started off in Denmark and then came down to England. They met up with the Mayflower, and then they started coming across. The Speedwell developed a leak on the journey across. And so their intention was to make it to Northern Virginia because that's kind of what they knew about America at the time.
Mhm.
And so coming across through the storms and the seas and everything, they got blown a little bit off course and they actually landed in Dartmouth, which is in New Hampshire. And once they arrived in Dartmouth, they had to make repairs to the Speedwell. And then so they set off again, trying to come make it down to Virginia. But within about 300 miles or so, the Speedwell started developing a leak again. So they ended up docking in Plymouth, Plymouth Rock. And
Wow.
everybody kind of disembarked the Speedwell. They said this isn't going to get us there. No, but nothing's going to happen. And everybody boarded the Mayflower. So the Mayflower was already overcrowded at this point, right? But wintertime, they were in the middle of winter. They arrived in New England in the winter, right? This one ship is taking on water, so everybody transferred over to the Mayflower. They docked in Plymouth and made their way up the Hudson there, I believe, to try and escape the ocean storms and everything. And everybody had to stay on the ship for the winter. Half the crew, half of everybody died that winter.
Wow.
Yeah, so they made that whole journey with one death, and then they get here, they finally get docked, and everything is frozen over. It's snow covered, ice packed. They can't do anything. They have to try and stay on the ship to survive the winter. By spring, half of everybody's dead. So at that point, a lot of the passengers and crew decided that they were just going to call it there at Plymouth, and then the other portion of them actually got back on the Mayflower and headed down to Virginia. So once spring comes and everything thaws, everybody's coming off the ship. The Pilgrims are greeted by, lo and behold, the only Native American on the continent who happened to speak English. And everybody will remember this fella named by Squanto.
How did that happen?
Hmm.
He could
Well,
speak English.
so Squanto was actually captured earlier by the English who had come over to the New World. They're doing all their adventuring and searching and whatever. They captured him, took him back to England, and he actually, was raised not as a slave, but more as like a servant or helping hand or whatever. So that's where
Indentured servant. Yeah.
yeah, so that's where he learned English and everything. And then at some point, he was set free. He made it back onto a ship, came back over to America, refound his tribe, the Wampanoag, and so he lived there. And so when the pilgrims landed, spring comes. They finally get off the boat. They're greeted by Squanto, who welcomes them. Welcome, Englishmen. So, we talked about this in the 4th of July thing, but a little bit of divine providence there, right?
Yeah.
So these people set off aiming for, Northern Virginia. They ended up coming to a place where the only English speaking person happened to live. Squanto greeted them and basically welcomed them to the New World, and they kind of started to form this. So it's told in different ways, but I think it probably makes more sense in a they formed a political kind of relationship with the
Hmm.
Wampanoag who were in the area there. And so the Wampanoag taught the Pilgrims basically how to grow corn and what crops they could grow there and how to basically live off the land. And so, as the Pilgrims learned and developed all these crops and everything, the following year they were very, very successful in what they had planted and hunted and everything. So they decided to have this feast, this celebration, to give thanks to God for all of the blessings that He'd bestowed upon them up to that point. And as part of that tradition, they invited the Wampanoag and some other uh, heads of the tribes in the surrounding area. So they got together, had a big feast. Everybody came. Now, our traditions is to have stuff like turkey and cranberry sauce and stuffing and pumpkin pies and things like that. And so, what I read a little bit about what they would have had is what we might think to be something a little bit odd. So, they would have had stuff like lobster and seal and swan. They certainly had corn, which they grew a lot of. They would have had certain types of squash. Maybe probably would not have been pumpkin, but squash. And then actually, they would have actually had cranberries. So I guess cranberries were a thing that were growing wild up there and was actually something that the Wampanoag kind of, had an agricultural influence on.
Hmm.
They didn't. I don't think they really necessarily like planted it as a crop the way that we do, but it was something that they kind of tended to, and they enjoyed it on a seasonal basis.
Dude, I gotta say that kind of sounds better than your average turkey, bro. Some lobster,
Some
squash,
lobster. I don't know.
cranberry.
The seal though. I don't know. Lots
Uh,
of cultures eat seal.
lots of fat. Lots of fat.
Yeah, I never had that. Swan is supposed to be pretty tasty. Would have had goose as well.
Yep. That's
All
awesome.
right. So we have this origin that starts in 1621, and we have this celebration. It was several days long. I think it was 3 or 4 days long, this Thanksgiving celebration. And it was kind of known as a harvest festival. And we didn't really recognize this time as a day of giving thanks to God
Hmm. Right.
until, let me find it, until October 3rd of 1789, when President George Washington
Mm.
made the following proclamation. Whereas it is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, now therefore I do recommend and assign Thursday, the 26th day of November, next to be devoted by the people of these states to the service of that great and glorious being who is the beneficent author of all the good that was, that is, or that will be, and also that we may then unite in most humbly offering our prayers and supplications to the great Lord and ruler of nations, and beseech him to pardon our national and other transgressions. So
Wow.
George Washington actually made it a point to have the day of November 26th as this day where we give thanks to God and we ask for forgiveness of our transgressions, right? Both as a
Very cool.
nation and as individuals.
Very cool.
Yeah. So later then, right in the middle of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln was besieged by a woman named Sarah J. Hale, asking him to put forth a proclamation appointing the last Thursday in November as the National Day of Thanksgiving. And so President Lincoln did that. He has a wonderful speech here. I was thinking about trying to read it in my best Abraham Lincoln voice. I do therefore invite my fellow citizens in every part of the United States, and also those who are at sea and those who are sojourning in foreign lands, to set apart and observe the last Thursday of November next as a day of thanksgiving and praise to our beneficent Father who dwelleth in the heavens.
Mm.
So we have this history of, you know, clearly a Christian influence on this day of Thanksgiving, which, you know, may have some reason as to why we don't put so much emphasis on the holiday these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like the idea of having a day where we all come together, and we give thanks to God for all the things we have. We live lives of so much abundance. I mean, if you were to go back in time to like the 12th century or something and try to explain to a king how people live today, they would laugh at you. No one lives that wealthy.
Yeah. And in the global background, I mean, we are so, so, so blessed. Just amazing.
Yeah,
We take it for granted.
we do take it for granted. So, some quirky things that I saw looking this up. Have you ever heard of the Mandela effect?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Or the
Don't ask
Mandela
me.
theory?
Don't
So
ask me to explain it.
there's this theory that there's like alternate timelines or alternate universes because people will remember um like the words to certain songs differently or certain images differently.
Hmm.
One of those is like the tag for the Fruit of the Loom. So some people will remember Fruit of the Loom, the logo always just having fruit, and some people also will remember it having the fruit plus a cornucopia, but it actually never had the cornucopia. You have
Wow.
The Michael Jordan silhouette on the Nike, and some people remember the silhouette having shorts. Some people remember it not having shorts. It actually never had shorts. One of those things is this idea that Thanksgiving has always been held on the third week of November. So there was a lady I saw, it was Instagram or Facebook or something, but was like, am I crazy? But I thought it was always the third week in November. And what I think is happening here, because I saw there was multiple people said they were experiencing this. I think what people remember is that there was a point where maybe it was Roosevelt or Eisenhower had
Hmm.
changed it from the fourth Thursday of the month to the third week in the month. And the idea behind that was to try and add this amount of time for shopping. So as part of trying to reinvigorate the economy after the Great Depression.
Huh.
And so it actually was changed in American history at one point to the third week in November, and people actually hated it. They despised the idea, so it was changed later on. I don't remember all the dates and everything. It was changed later on back to the fourth week. So I think that's probably what is happening is people remember learning about that at some point and taking that forward in their mind as to say it was always the third week. Now, for us in the modern era, everybody alive today, it's always been the fourth Thursday in November.
Mm, mm. Yep. Wow. That's cool. Unknown fact there.
Yeah. So some interesting stuff. So, why do we celebrate Thanksgiving? So as everybody's coming together for this one time, and you're all going to attempt to burn your houses down by
Or hurt yourself by
by
throwing a
frying a
frozen
giant
turkey
bird.
into a fryer. Yeah.
Yes. Why are we even having this celebration? The reason why is because of these brave people who endured, you know, an entire winter of
Yeah.
hardship
Yeah.
and death and suffering, and who came out the other end of it still, uh, understanding that everything they had was given to them by God, and certainly the journey that they had and everything that came about was
Mm.
basically ordained by God. I don't know a better way to put it.
With an
Basically
humble and
ordained.
thankful heart.
Yes, with a Dwayne is the only person I know that says humble. That's probably the proper pronunciation of it. I've had to say this a lot of times to many people too. Uh, I can't remember it. The word wasn't umble. I can't remember what it was, but somebody was like, "Why are you saying it that way?" And I was like, "That's the way you pronounce it." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, how do you pronounce honor or honest?
Honor,
Like the H
honor,
isn't, yeah. We don't
silent.
say honor, yeah. So yeah, umble is probably the correct pronunciation. Yeah. So umble,
What did you call the city? Humble, Texas. Did you go humble? Humble, Texas?
yeah, but just because everybody else colloquially, that's the colloquial pronunciation for for the name. That's just like what was it? Is it Nacogdoches?
Nacogdoches. We say
No,
properly it's like
New Braunfels.
New
Everyone
Brunswick.
everyone pronounces it New Braunfels, but it's New Braunfels.
Really?
Yes.
I stand corrected. Whoa.
So there
That's
you go.
amazing. That's
All right.
amazing. Don't
All
even
right.
start me on Kirkendall.
Yes, Kirkendall.
That's a German thing for you listeners. The word is
Yeah,
spelled Kuy, and Germans pronounce it
and it's
as
pronounced
if it had an R.
Kirkendall. Yeah, I remember the first time
Kirkendall.
somebody told me that. Well, got new to Texas asking for directions. We're going to take Kirkendall for some, and I saw the sign, and I was like, that does not say Kirkendall, but I'm willing to bet that that's Kirkendall. All right, peoples, as you come together and you celebrate this holiday, remember to give thanks. Maybe you don't believe in the Christian God, although you should. Remember to give thanks for all that you have, and be grateful for the people you are surrounded by and all of your blessings.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So with
Absolutely.
that, yeah, from us here at Working Weights LLC, we wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Coach Lambie and Dwayne out.